Zag fans, you're watching Gonzaga Nation. I'm your host, Dan Dickow, here with the one, the only, the voice that is buttery, silky smooth when you listen to him on Root Sports, KHQ,
What is
none
that?
other than
What is
Greg
that?
Heister.
Buttery what? What did you? I don't know.
Buttery smooth.
I'm not
You've
even
never
sure I
heard.
agree with that.
Oh, well, it's been described in
Okay.
multiple ways that you
Okay.
have a voice of the
Yeah.
gods.
Well, it's great to be here, Dan.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I've heard many
And
people describe
like
that
I
voice
always
that way.
know when summer's over because I got a call from Dickow saying, "Hey, can you come do something with me?" So I know the season's getting close. This is like my way of knowing. So it's good to be here. And sorry for the hair. The haircut's coming actually after this. Dan could have scheduled it after the haircut, but no, he wanted the wilderness look. So here we go.
Well,
This is the best I got for you.
Well, I mean, I think we kick off our partnership,
Yeah.
our work together October 7th with Craziness in the Kennel. I believe that's going to be on tap again on TV, but you spend the majority of your summers away, which is one reason you and I don't, communicate much until this time of year.
Yeah.
What is it that people don't know about you that you are passionate about?
Well, I have a fly fishing show that airs on Discovery Channel every Sunday called Seasons on the Fly. So we travel the globe shooting episodes. So I'm gone a lot doing that. And then I own a fishing lodge in Alaska. So the month of June, a bunch of August, I'll be going up there in a week or two. And then the end of October is spent there, opening it up, closing it up, and of course, fishing. So
How'd you get into that? Because obviously people see you on TV with Gonzaga basketball.
Yeah.
They see you on Pac-12 networks doing different things, but they don't probably know you as the voice of a fishing show or a world-class fisherman,
Yeah.
or even one of your other interesting propositions that you're a part of is the Iditarod.
I didn't know this was going to be about me today.
We have
But
to.
it's about, like,
it
you
will
think
be
they
about
really care about me?
It's going to be about your thoughts later on.
Okay,
but-
my thoughts. Okay, good. Well, I grew up in the outdoors. I had a family that lived in the outdoors, and I've been fishing since I was a boy and tying flies and fly fishing. So I grew up a big fan of Kurt Gowdy, and it was in, reruns at the time. It was a show called The American Sportsman, hosted by Kurt, and he was one of the great play-by-play voices of all time. And was a Hall of Famer, did Super Bowls, NBA titles, Final Fours, did it all. He hosted the show, so it was Kurt Gowdy that I wanted to be. I wanted to do outdoors television and be a play-by-play announcer. I read a book in high school called So You Want to Be a Sportscaster, and it was written by Ken Coleman, who was the voice of the Boston Red Sox and the old Cleveland Browns with Jim Brown and things in the 50s. Also a Hall of Fame play-by-play announcer. My first job out of college was in Cleveland at WJW TV, working with a guy, the sports director's name was Casey Coleman. It was Ken Coleman's son. And I ended up covering Craig Elo, who was playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then you zoom forward all these years later, and Elo, I ended up working Gonzaga games with Elo all those days. So it was this really crazy circular motion. I don't know, we got a little off the subject, I think there, Dan. I'll blame you for that. But the outdoors thing too, it was just kind of a natural progression. I'm a storyteller. One of my first jobs was in Anchorage. We were the official station of the Iditarod sled dog race. So that created a love. I'm out there covering dogs, chasing dogs for 3 weeks in the month of March. So I missed the NCAA tournament every year, most of it. I get time. If the Zags get to the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, I'll be there. I am every year. But I've cut teeth as a storyteller out on the trail. That event and those people are the greatest stories in all the sports. And it blossomed a passion and a love that still lives in me today. It's a great event.
Well, you talk about storytelling for the Iditarod. I'm sure there's some storytelling to a certain extent with your fishing shows, but
Yeah.
people know you as the voice of the Zags with the TV games, and you are able to paint a picture a lot of times about different things that are going on. What is it about Gonzaga basketball that has made you want to keep staying involved in calling those games, besides the fact that we get a front row seat?
Yeah, like they're all my friends. Like Dan Dickow and Richard Fox are all my friends. And it should be pointed out that I do like to tell stories during the games, but it's only when Richard and Dan give me time to do that, which
When
is
Richard
not very
gives you
often,
time.
to be honest with you.
Richard
But,
gives you time.
yeah, but no, like they're all my friends. I mean, Coach Few is one of my dear friends. There's a lot of boosters around the program. There's a bunch of those season ticket holders over there that I've known now for over 20 years. They're friends. We fish together. We hang out together. And really, it's not about Gonzaga. It's about the people that I have become really close to and entwined with over all these years. And it's hard not to root for friends to be successful, right? Like, there's a lot of guys that went to Gonzaga. There's a lot of gals that went to Gonzaga, so they're fans of the program. For me, I mean, Mike Roth is one of the best people I've ever known in my life. Same with Coach Few, and we've become great friends over the years. And then, you know, the program and calling these games, Dan, has just put me in contact with people like yourself and a Craig Elo and all of the people that I've called games for other networks over the years. It's just led to a lot of different things. So, you know, I'm getting to the age now where you get a little melancholy and reminiscent, and I've been doing it enough years where you look back and you're like, holy hell, what a ride.
Yeah.
What an opportunity it's been to be associated. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. It's one of the most crowning jewels of my career these days. And you have no idea when you get the phone call 20 whatever years ago, do you want to call games? You know, Coach Few and I weren't even fishing together at that time. You just don't know, right? You don't know what it's going to blossom into.
So you've been calling games. You started with radio. You morphed into TV. So you've been calling games for that long.
Yeah.
Is the excitement at this stage of the year, we're end of end of August, early September, where the focus starts turning to college football, and the true basketball fans, they're looking up stuff every single day online.
Yeah.
Has the excitement for you changed
No.
in the last 20 years?
No. No. I mean, I you know, people laugh at me all the time, and I was telling you, November, December, January last year, that was my favorite Zag team of all time last year. Because you just never knew.
You did not know last year.
You did not know. And they had this ability to allow people to stay close, and then they just ripped the hearts out of guys. And I mean, remember at BYU, those fans were starting to trickle down the aisles, right? Because they were going to storm the court. And then the Zags ripped their hearts out. Like, I don't know how you can't be excited about that.
Yeah.
That was one of the greatest things I've seen in all these years around this program, NC2A tournament or not. Like, it was fantastic when these guys rose to those occasions. They kept doing that over and over and over. And of course, LMU got them at home. It didn't happen. Drew had a shot. Julian had a shot. It just didn't go in. But it happened throughout the season where they just allowed teams to stay close, and then they ripped their. I'd like to throw a few words in front of that heart out.
Yeah.
Right.
So can you put your finger on it exactly what it is for a team one year versus another? Because there's been some talented teams that I don't want to say they didn't reach their potential, but they didn't have maybe the don't say quit mantra that last year's team had. Is there something you can put your finger on?
Well, but you can probably do that better than I can because you've been on so many teams and you've played the game for so long. I mean, Drew Timme was an alpha dog. Like, he was an absolute alpha dog. And I don't think he's cut out of the cloth. When you think of an alpha dog on a basketball court, I don't think he's cut out of that cloth. And I probably don't think that the fans of the game really understood his desire to win and how deep it ran, right? So, can you put a finger on it? I don't know if anybody can. It's about chemistry. It's about love of one another. It's about playing together. It's about all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I think you got to have that one guy. And maybe there were years they just didn't have that one guy.
They're hard to find.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. You had it. I hate to admit that.
I didn't ask you to say that.
And honestly, like, this past year was my favorite year. I'll just say it. Your year was absolutely my favorite. Besides last year, it was my very first year doing games. And Dan Dickow was the craziest thing that I'd ever been close to in my life. Just hitting shots, and you had that will. You did not want to lose, and you weren't going to allow your teammates to lose and stuff. So I think that's what continues to draw me to these games, to these teams and these programs, is just these young people that are just going to the edge for one another. It's pretty cool to witness.
Well, we've gone on for quite some time. We're going to have to do this again. We're also going to have to do it bringing in our partner, Richard Fox, one of these days. So,
Oh, it'll get fun then.
Yeah. I wanted, the other thing at some point, you know, I want to hear some of these stories about fishing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a good fisherman.
Yeah.
I wish I were better.
Well, we just need to go,
But,
Dano.
you know, the one thing I am frustrated about with our chat today, and I'm going to give you one last chance before we wrap, is it you or Coach Few as the better fisherman?
You realize he affects my employment.
But if he's... Gotcha. All right. So I guess, listeners, you kind of come to your own conclusion, but
yeah,
last chance.
He has an impact on my employment.
Are you saying you let him catch the bigger fish out on the...
Oh no, that's definitely happened. No, that has definitely happened. I'll tell you one story. So we're up on the Naknek River in Alaska, and we're swinging for trout, and it's just a spectacular river known for its big fish. And he, of course, he goes into the run first, and he starts fishing down, and I get behind him, and I get in the river, and I start swinging. My fly's coming right down at his feet, and I got a boom, right, and I reel it in. It's like a 27-inch beautiful trout. And I release it, take some photos, and we're yucking it up. And I go right back out there, and I start swinging again, like 3 casts down, literally right at his feet. Boom! Right, like a 30-inch trout. Right. And I get the photos, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I go over on the bank, and I sit down and just kind of lay down. I probably got the thermos out, and he starts yelling at me, like Heister, like in, some expletives in there, and I'm like, and it's a kind of an image of him. It's an insight into the guy. And he says, Heister, what are you doing? And I said, I just caught 2 of the greatest trout of my life. I don't need to catch another one. And he's like, the bleep you don't. You should get in here and catch 10 of them, right? I mean, that's why he's been so good for so long, because he's so competitive. But I think, in my own way, that kind of answered your question.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. I see where the rest of that was going, but great stuff.
I'm sure he doesn't remember that.
Well, Greg, I know we chatted a little bit throughout the process and of this sit down about your hair. Well, we do have these new Gonzaga Nation hats.
Oh.
Wanted to share with you, and had I thought about this sooner, we would have had you wear that.
Wait, hold up.
Is it big enough?
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna see. Don't go away. We're gonna put this on the last little button here, and let's see. This is the magic moment right now.
It fits.
Nice job,
There
Dan.
we go.
Nice job. It's on the very last one, though. Good.
There you have it.
Yes.
So for today's guest, Greg Heister, myself, Dan Dickow, Gonzaga Nation, thanks you, Greg, for joining.
A parting gift.